Hello, world. Welcome to D&D Beyond. I'm here with the Queen of the Calamity herself, Aabria Iyengar. What's up, my friend?
Hello.
Hello. It is
Hi,
so
how
good to
are
see you.
you?
Hi, hey. I'm Joe Starr. I make videos about elves here at D&D Beyond, and today is actually a video about an elf. So I'm very excited. When we do these character sheet tours, we dig in with players on on their builds, what they were trying to do from like a role play perspective, what they were trying to do from like a mechanics perspective, and we're going to tour a character today that just has been getting a lot of let's say conversation around her. So I'm super excited to do this.
Yes.
Yes. We'll be doing. So we're gonna do this for the first half of the stream. Then we'll do a little Q&A. The mods will tell you how to ask a question in chat, and we'll have some giveaways and stuff like that too. So thanks for being here. Thanks for hanging out. This is going to be super fun. Uh, First, my sister in Daring Mighty Things.
Yes. Look at us. We dare
Yes.
mighty things.
Shout out to
Yeah.
JPL. Shout out
We
the
look
Jet Propulsion
so
Lab.
cool.
We look very cool. We look astonishingly cool. We should have denim jackets on with them. Um,
It's not too late.
do we have? Yeah. Jonathan, our producer, just vamp while we go off camera
Yeah,
and
just
find
vamp. We're
denim
both going to
jackets.
leave for an amount of time.
Absolutely. Okay,
No?
sorry. Focus. I never get to see you, and I get very happy when I do.
Same.
Let's jump. Let's dig into this tour. So,
Yes.
give me the introduction to the character of the hour from Exandria Unlimited, Calamity. What's her Abria? What's her name? What's her race? What's her class? Tell me about her.
Yes. Hello. Welcome to Laerryn Coramar-Seelie, my character for Exandria Unlimited Calamity. She is a high elf, level 14 abjuration wizard. I built her to be a full thorn in Brennan Lee Mulligan's side because we kind of
Absolutely.
knew up top that our characters were walking into a doomed campaign. We'll talk more about like the inspiration and the things I wanted to accomplish with her in a little bit. But sort of knowing that I was building an engineer character who had a knowledge and skill set that did not survive to modern Exandria, I very much sort of understood the like Brennan as the DM is going to have to kill my character off by the end of Calamity. Like she cannot live through it, but I will do my best to make it as difficult as possible. So we stacked her up with a bunch of cool stuff and made her incredibly hard to drop. And it was very fun. I think this might be, yeah, I'm just going to say it. I love every character and every game I've run. This might be my favorite character I've ever built and played. So,
And
oh.
honestly, I can tell like just every time you sort of talk about her. Look, you're very genuine. Not to say that you are never not genuine, because you
I'm
are
so
possibly the
fake.
most
Thank
genuine person
you.
I have. um, but literally, like just people connecting with her and talking to you about her on Twitter, like you can tell that she's just sort of like crafted with a lot of love and care. And I just see you genuinely getting excited about people connecting with her, which I think is really cool. So, obviously Thorn and Brennan's side, right?
Yes,
Um,
yes.
Besides that, or even if that's the only thing, that's fine. What were you kind of trying to? Because I think there's a lot of interesting things here. Being a Thorn and Brennan side, um, showing off maybe for the first time what a wizard might look like pre-calamity, in the
Yeah.
height
Yes.
of everything. So, what were you sort of trying to accomplish from like a character? These sort of intermix, so we'll just do them both at the same time. But like, what were you trying to accomplish from like a character perspective, and then like a mechanics perspective
Yeah.
with the build?
Knowing I mean, yeah, we're playing in this sort of like storied age of Arcanum where the arcane was at its peak. Like people were trying to do the most and be the most. And it was sort of
Hmm.
the height of arcane ability and striving and hubris. So taking that as sort of the like North Star for the build, uh, I tend to not care too much about like maximize builds when I play games because it's more about like the character and like trying to build mechanically to support whatever like narrative journey I want to take a character on. This one I was like, oh no. You gotta build the biggest, meanest thing. Because the like as we were sort of talking and we did our character gen as a big group all together. Once it kind of came down to me and Laura and then Marisha as like the two wizards, we're like, okay, if we are the sort of the examples and paragons of an age, you have to build something like incredibly powerful and then narratively full of bad ideas and the wherewithal to follow through on all of it. And yeah, and like the one thing I mentioned in Twitter Spaces yesterday was because I'm very, very, very steeped in the lore of the world, I always loved that the city of Vasselheim, which is like very divine magic oriented, it's where a bunch of like temples to like like the prime deities are. They hate arcane magic because of the things that went down in the Age of Arcanum. And throughout the whole build, I was like, I want to be why they think that, and they're right. So let's grab the biggest, craziest, scariest stuff we can. And
Yes.
then grabbed my friend Trevor, and we like sat down for a couple hours and we're like, let's make this build monstrous. And it worked because, as a lot of people or several people on socials pointed out, the equivalent wizard in our group with Marisha and then Caleb at level 14 had, I think, it wasn't quite half, but it's very close to like half of Laerryn's hit points. Like she was a little
I love it. Well,
tanked.
shout out to Trevor for building you as this like
Yeah,
high society Kryptonian scientist, that doesn't believe that the planet's about to implode. That's just shut up, Zod, like champagne.
right.
I love
I'm gonna
that.
kill this tree and nothing bad will happen.
So with like the tanky build, what sort of drew you to Abjuration for your wizard?
Ooh. Yeah, gosh. The truth of it is at first I wanted to build using one of the like classes that Matt, like I was like, oh, let's go like graviturgy and play with that a little bit, but realizing that that didn't really exist in Exandria until later on. I was like, oh,
Mhm.
let's give her the heart of a character that like fundamentally wants to protect things. And
Right.
like yeah, that's her North Star is mitigating harm and protecting and doesn't, especially because wizards don't have like healing magic. The best they can do is just stop bad things from happening. So yeah, Abjuration, I feel like I haven't seen like a lot of love for it. And shout out to the very first D&D game I ever played in. My friend Michael, like in our very first game, played an Abjuration wizard, and I loved his arcane ward, and was like, "Oh, someday I'll come back." And when I finally play like a wizard, I'm gonna hang out with that. And it was great because it also had like when kind of stacking up Laerryn's build at the end of the day, she had 175 effective hit points if she ever used her ward on herself, which she didn't because of drama
Well,
reasons.
I love that though, and Jonathan, if you wouldn't mind bringing up her sheet as we talk about the tankness. I mean, yeah, this is a very tanky wizard, even without those
Yes.
wards at 142 hit points. That is, I mean, that's pretty slick.
5 fewer than the paladin is pretty great.
Yeah, no, that is that is pretty awesome. We might, as side note, I'm digging into Paladin for the first time, and we might have a conversation sometime about how to do that good,
Yes. Oh, love
because
a
I do
pal.
not do that good yet. Um, so yeah, so let's dig in with me. As we're talking about this, like height of excess, overpowered wizard. What are some of like the mechanics in this build we can start digging around in where you were like, I've got to have this, I've got to have that.
Yeah.
You're building a Ferrari that can nuke the world. When you're picking your spoiler and your tint and all of that good stuff, like what were the things that you were like, this is necessary?
Yeah. I
Whether
guess let's
it's
start with the
spells, whether
ability
yeah.
score. Yeah, let's start with ability scores because we got to roll for them. And very thankfully, Brendan's like, you get 2
Hmm.
tries at this. And I was like, okay. And on my second try, I rolled very, very well. And yeah, obviously you
You should.
give the spellcaster their like you get them to a 20 in their spellcasting. But I always figured that because I needed Laerryn to have a like concentration spells, like she was like a focus based
Mhm.
caster, that her con would have to be super high so she could like maintain concentration on things, which also again helped with the hit points, which was delicious. But
Yeah, no, absolutely.
yeah. Okay. Let's talk about feats because I love feats with
Let's get
my
in.
entire heart. They're really what takes I mean, yeah, there's like a lot of permutations of like what you can build in D&D, but to me, feats like make the character special and
Yeah.
their own. So, yeah, we came out of
Aabria
the
and I
gate.
both love feet. It's canon. That's recorded. That's on
I'm
the
on
internet.
Wiki Feats.
Wiki feet.
Actor. Yeah.
That's what we have to call our video series that focuses on feats. Has
Well,
to be called
now
Wiki
it's gonna
Feet.
happen. We have to
Oh
dare
no.
mighty things. We're gonna make a
We
horrifying
have
set
to
of
dare mighty things.
mistakes.
All right, so let's
My
dig into these feats.
Yeah, my favorite feat on here, the thing that we were like very sneaky and tricky and pulled off, was the mage armor spam. So, fun thing about Abjuration Wizards, your arcane ward, you get to cast it once a day, and it runs out once you use all of the like stored hit points in it. But you can refill it when you cast abjuration spells. So normally you're kind of you're getting something bad, like it rewards you for picking spells in your school of magic, and you're kind of like
Mhm.
even as you're like burning down your ability set, like you're getting a little bit back. However, there's a feat. There's an what is it? Eldritch Adept, which allows you to take one EI of your choice from the Warlock class. And one of the options is Armor of Shadows, which gives you Mage Armor, a level 1 spell at will. So without casting or without expending a spell slot, you can cast a level 1 spell that like is good because wizards can't wear armor because it gets in the way of our magics. So we have to say easy breezy and in linen. So in addition to like bumping up her armor class, I also could spam it and ended up timing it out. And I think there's a couple times you can see me on camera saying like, do I have a free minute and 42 seconds? Because that's casting every 6 seconds in a round as an action, spamming mage armor to eventually fully refill my arcane wards. I was like, if you give me just under 2 minutes, I can have my full arcane ward back. And that became like the one little cheesy interaction that I built. But
I I
that
love
plus
that
tough.
mechanically. Yeah, mechanically, you built the story trope of the third act in any action movie that was like, in 3 minutes, you're like, we have to hold them off,
Yeah.
or for 2 more minutes, or that's I absolutely love that. Flavor wise, with Eldritch Adept, that dips into Warlock for a little bit. Like just flavor,
Yeah.
fun, role play wise, did you play with that a little bit in terms of like,
Oh
yeah, I
yeah.
made a little deal, yeah.
In my head, and it never came out. There were so many like cute little things that like we just didn't have time for because there was 4 episodes, and like how do you pull focus to
Right.
like have more heart agonizing Larian and Loquacious stuff. But like Loquacious is a Archfey warlock, so I do think at some point, yeah, she may have had a conversation with Loquacious's patron, Lady Elminor, the War Queen, and asked for like a little boon in order to protect him. Because throughout the game, I think there's like one point where I use the arcane ward a little bit on myself just because there was nothing else I could do. But other than that, she spends it like constantly throwing it onto Quay to protect him. So I always thought of that as like a little
Makes sense.
boon from, yeah, his patron.
I love that. I think that's super, super
Yeah.
cool. And then, of course,
And then
you built
tough
a
is
tank, so
dope.
work. Yeah,
Yeah.
tough. I love. Yeah, let's talk because we're talking about these hit points and building that up.
Yes.
Yeah,
Well, you made a good
let's talk
point. Hold on,
tough.
sorry. I'm going to cut you off to talk about the thing I cut you off about, which is psychotic. You're so kind. Warcaster, every you have to have it. I don't understand. Like, come on, it's crazy to not have Warcaster. Like, it's the best feat if you do magic. You need it, and it shouldn't even be a feat anymore. It just needs to be baked into like, oh, do you do magic
Mhm.
punch? Yeah, you have this thing. Just have this
Well,
thing.
it builds too on your choice of loading on Constitution.
Yeah.
really trying to protect those concentration spells, which is really, really cool.
Yeah. Cause I mean, yeah, looking at the sort of like party, the way the party was built, I did realize pretty quickly, like, yeah, like Laerryn can do a bunch of damage. And yeah, we
Mhm.
ended an encounter very quickly one time. But I figured that the majority of what she was doing was going to be battlefield control and protection. So her ability to get like a big reverse gravity off and then maintain it was going to be huge. So yeah, she was built in order to outlast stuff while she's trying to get things done and try to keep the playing field level for the big hitters in our Paladin Inquisitor Rogue uh, combo.
Love that. That is awesome. I have a lot of feet fights. All of this sounds weird now that we made the feet joke. Um, uh, I have a lot of disagreements about feats with my DM sometimes.
Ooh,
Just like what can I take, what can't I take? Alert. I feel like is one that I always have to fight for. Stuff like that,
yeah.
which is very metagamey. I always find a way to justify alert.
Alert is so good. Look,
Yeah, but
yeah, I
yeah, I don't know
played
if my ranger does coke. Like, yeah, alert. Um, uh, were there any feats that Brennan was kind of like, let's draw, let's draw a line.
uh no, he was super, super kind about being like, whatever you want to do. Honestly, it was pretty messed up because he's like, yeah, you can take whatever you want. Do you want extra stuff? You can have extra stuff. Just talk to me about it. Oh, you want a bunch of magic items? You can have all the items you want. This is the age of
Yeah,
Arcanum. And I got
yeah. I mean, it makes
nervous
sense.
when he
Yeah,
said that. I was like, why is he offering so much cool stuff? And I have ADHD, so I forgot to grab a bunch of magic items. A lot of people had a bunch of, they were like, stacked with items, especially our paladin Xerxes, which makes perfect sense because he's like the
yeah.
paragon and defender of the city. But
Well,
I only
let's
grabbed essentially one, and then I found out why later because he made them all blow up and destroy us, and I was like, aha! ADHD
makes
wins.
sense.
I
Well, then
forgot to
let's
take stuff, so
jump
you can't kill
into
me with
right. Yeah. Well, I
it.
mean that approach makes sense from this is these are the wizards that are at Gatsby's party, right? Like they have
Yeah,
everything. But
100%.
let's dig into inventory like a little bit, and then I want to dig into
Yeah.
spells with you a lot because you're sort of there was that lack of magic items because you kind of forgot because you and I same brain, we're a little scattered when it comes to things like this. Um,
Oopie.
but I love you've got your all-purpose 2+2, a quick a mace +2, which I was actually surprised to see. Um, were there any?
So,
I don't know, like what
So
were the thoughts?
mechanically, the thought for this was just that her all-purpose tool, which yes, I understand it was an artificer. Early build for Laerryn was a had a couple levels of artificer, but I really
Ooh, cool.
wanted improved abjuration, uh, which you get at level 14. And I was like, oh, we can't take the artificer levels, though that would make so much sense because she's an engineer
Mhm.
and builds things. So can I just have this all-purpose tool and maybe like it helps out mechanically because it raises her spell save DC and attack bonus. But really was mostly just there for flavor. And then the +2 mace was the me kind of going, all right, the coolest version of the all purpose tool is turning it into a giant wrench so I can be like Vin Diesel in Fast 9, I believe, and have a big wrench fight if I ever need to do some
Well
like
said.
mechanical
Yeah.
hitting. Yeah.
She is also all about family for better or worse. So
Truly. Yep.
that's
And
it
makes
makes
just as
sense.
many weird calls.
On and off
Oh,
camera.
on
Um,
and
uh,
off.
well, let's do. Okay, so you've made this tanky wizard. Um, One of the things that I think really blew up during Calamity for you was the
The
flowchart
tree.
thing. We've got to dig into this to the skill tree.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
So let's talk favorite spells, attacks, combos, and then I'd love to just dig in on like because this is something that when I saw the when that got tweeted, the video of like, hey, here's your flow charts and how those work. Well, no, it wasn't you. It was over on the Dimension 20 side. Someone was like, Aabria taught me this. Um,
Oh yeah,
uh,
yeah. It was Izzy
uh,
Roland.
yeah, it was Izzy was like, Aabria taught me this, and I was like, I need this because it's weird. I do that for yeah, because it's never occurred to me to just be like, just write it down so you don't get lost in the moment, Joe. Just like
Yeah.
write the stuff down. So I'd love to get into, what are your favorite spells from this build?
Yes.
What are the combos, and how do you approach building them?
Yeah. I will just say very quickly, the sort of like the origin of that was knowing that Izzy, for being partnered with Brennan, hadn't played a lot of D&D and hadn't played on camera. So sort of
Hmm.
knowing that like performer brain will occasionally trump like it feels weird
100%.
and you lose momentum the
Yeah.
moment you have to look down and go like, what are my interactions? And I was sitting right next
Yeah.
to Reika, who was playing, like, she had never played a fighter before, and because of all the maneuvers and like it's a little like everything's actually really clear on D&D Beyond, which is really nice because you can just kind of go to actions and you see things broken down by action, bonus action. Yeah, it's very good. You don't really need a flowchart, but especially in like streamed games and like actual play,
Hmm.
when you're trying to like continue narrative flow, it's nice to just have it like and look down. And
Yeah.
the one I built for Reika was absolutely the like loop back at the very end of it to remind her that she had 2 attacks. And a lot of it was like, just roll your d20, add this number at the end. Did you hit? Throw a maneuver on it. Like, did you use your bonus action, with like little reminders at the top? And for me and the flowcharts that I still use, because like, yes, I've played a lot of D&D and I don't necessarily need flowcharts all the time, but the big class bonuses that you want to do at tops of encounters, I hate.
Hmm.
It drives me crazy when I forget to Hunter's Mark or forget to rage at the beginning. And you're like,
Absolutely.
I forgot to do it. Oh, can we retcon it? And then you're like, oh, I'm sorry for like asking you
Yeah.
this weird thing in the middle of the game. I know I should know
Yeah.
better.
Well, that's what clicked with
Yeah.
me so much was
Yeah.
recently. I When the Monstrous Compendium came out, I DM'd just a quick fight with the Eldritch Lich, and then we just did a Vecna battle where I played a level 20 Paladin for the first time because
Yes.
it was very stupid of me, admittedly, because I was like, this will be fun, and then
I've also
once
done
we
that and
started the
been
game, I
like,
was like, I don't know what I'm doing. And
yes.
in both of those, people were like, "Why isn't Joe doing X, Y, Z?" Or even with the Lich, they were like,
Yeah.
Joe went to Funtown real quick instead of murdering them with this Lich." And you're right. In the moment, you're just like, "Oh, I was in the zone with my players.
Yeah.
And I just didn't have the flow in front of me on how to kill them or how to
Yep.
kill it."
I call that hype wipe
So let's
when you're
dig
like,
into
I'm
her,
so
right?
invested. Yeah.
I love that
Uh,
hype wipe. Yeah, I absolutely love that. Let's dig into these combos and just
yes.
like
So my favorite combo, and I didn't get to
okay,
use it quite the way I wanted. It was like the whammy that I had on the side. I also write whammies, which are my big like. Here's the one where you're like, I'm gonna have a cool round and do some cool stuff.
yeah.
And
It's that
my
moment in Demon Slayer. I get you. Yeah.
exactly. So my big one was centered on Tasha's Otherworldly Guise, which is a very cool spell that allows you as a bonus action. But like you pick upper or lower planes, it bumps your DC, it gives you wings, and like the wings have an increased movement on it. Sorry. Plus 2 bonus on AC. I don't know if I said that right. A bunch of immunities and like a little bit of resistance, and you get to make weapon attacks that are magical, and you get to attack twice. So you essentially get to feel like a good martial character. And that was where the intersection with so I picked all purpose tool for the flavor and the little mechanical benefit, and then I went and asked Brennan for the best version of the all purpose tool to be a +2 mace, so I had a good weapon when I would go in for my action and attack twice.
Mm,
So my big one would have been
that-
like BA, Tasha's uh, movement to fly over to an enemy and attack twice with a +2 mace. And her strength isn't that high, but like for a wizard, a +1's pretty good. I would have gotten a couple good hits on. My whammy was there in the event that like, so Sarah, Travis's character, was playing a mage slayer whose entire job it was to suss out questionable mages and take care of them. And I was sitting right next to him going, is Travis going to kill my character? Oh goodness. Well, here's the thing. So I had to like hide my whammy. So I had like on my little iPad, I had like a post-it note over that section just in case, so he didn't see it and couldn't see it coming. Cause like my whole plan, I knew that he gets to like get a hit in as a reaction when he sees a mage cast a spell. And I was like, all right, I built
Mhm.
her strong enough that she can take one round of sneak attack, but then she's just got to get hits and get out. But the truth of the matter was, if it came down to a 1v1 with the way Sarah was built, I really don't think it was going to be super survivable for my sweet girl. Just because he was built to hurt mages a lot, and I picked spells that were a lot of like save or damage, and rogue evasion is a pain in my butthole. So I didn't really have a good plan for dealing with Travis's character other than crying and trying to convince Sam's character to come help me. And so for people who are
Right.
asking
Yeah.
about that, I didn't have a good answer. It was just going to go bad. It was just going to be bad, and I
Fair
was going to
enough.
be sad about it the whole time.
Fair enough.
Uh,
Well, okay, so that's
yeah.
combos, that's whammies. What are
Yes.
her what do you consider her like bread and butter spells? If
Yeah.
as a piece of edutainment, for people building their abjuration wizard, what do you sort of find like this is the toolkit,
Yo. Uh, the toolkit is absolutely in like so much of this is centered around like being good with action economy, and I think the one
Hmm.
limited resource for abjuration wizards is like, god, I wish I had like 14 reactions, please, because counterspell and truly the most like broken spell in the game, which is silvery barbs. I love it so much. It is a devastatingly good reaction to impose disadvantage and
Hmm.
give advantage to someone on your team or yourself. Yeah, bread and butter. You just got to keep your control and like flow state things on hand. Mirror image, I'm a huge fan of. You have to make it harder to hit your wizard. So getting like stuff like that up. And then yeah, other big whammy spells. I never got to use Steel Wind Strike, but I was also very excited about that. That's a big cute boy that allows you to do 60-10 on like up to 5 targets, I think. Which is crazy. Um
Yes.
and what are the big ones? Every wizard needs fireball. Every wizard needs fireball. And I hate to be like, look, that is the Starbucks and Ugg boots, just chewy truth of a wizard is you need that to whom it may
Yeah.
concern.
But look,
Please accept. Yeah.
yeah, you wear Ugg boots to the airport for a reason.
Thank you. It's comfortable. It always looks good,
Yeah.
and you're fine, and no one cares because then you get to do big cool stuff. Yeah, and man, dispel magic or sorry, reverse gravity. That's so fun. I've never gotten to use it before. It felt very good, especially because like generally speaking, wizards are at the bottom of initiative, and you're like, all right, well, I'm
Hmm.
not going to go until the entire board state in this round is laid out. So it was very nice to have a fully populated combat and see that like Brendan, because every time we would go, he would add more guys. He'd be like, okay, you go, and now here's 11 more people that are trying to murder you. So it was a very nice, fun moment to have a big like control spell up because again it was that idea of like
Hmm.
concentration, but it's also a fun concentration spell because like once you have them in the air, you're like, I dare you to hit me and make me drop concentration because all your friends are going to drop 100 feet. But for sure, yeah, one of my favorite moments sort of meta wise was the two wizards hiding in the corner maintaining concentration while doing like little control spells to try to like keep friends up and protect them and keep the combat going while 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 focusing. And to me, that feels like exactly the like sort of flow state for a wizard, which is get your con up and then hide in the back and occasionally chump some damage with your action while you're focusing. I
I
talked
love
for a
that.
long
I
time. I'm
think
so
that is
sorry.
no, 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 no. That is no one's here to listen to me talk.
I'm here to listen to you
You
talk.
speak, you speak, you dare mighty speak. You absolutely dare mighty words. Uh, I, I love this. Are there any just like um bits of, and this kind of gets into like the a la carte and the extra and flavor and stuff like that, or any just like bits of customization or uh, you know, anything that you were like, oh, you know what, I'm picking this background because it gives me like this little bit of just like, or anything like that on her that
Ooh.
you just love to sort of show off or are proud of?
Um, you know what? I'm actually super bummed out because I meant at some point to combine the +2 mace and all-purpose tool into a single item. Uh, and Yeah, I was gonna, like, rename it something, like,
Mm.
cute and goofy, like my little, Swiss Army knife, but never got around to it because I am lazy and forget things all the time. Uh, yeah, whoops. So, yeah, I have other characters that I've played where, like, I've, like, renamed, like, little bags and packs and, like, the, like, cute little customization stuff on here, I love to do, especially in, like, longer form games when you're like, "Oh, we're taking, like, a little break to like have a little snack," and I'll go in
Hmm.
and fiddle and fuss. Like, yeah, I love all the little like customization. The background for this is literally one of the pieces of art that Brennan used in reference when he was like giving us our outline about the season up top when we first started our character gen. And I was like, oh, I can like put it in the background and remind
That.
everything about myself. And then
Yeah,
yeah,
the
you
first
know,
time I
having
looked
the
at this
little
sheet, I went to that immediately and was just like, oh wow, I know where their mindset was. Okay, I know where
yeah.
everybody's head was at
Oh
getting into
man,
this
yeah,
game.
there was a lot of like go watch Jurassic Park and come back and we'll talk about what the tone of this is going to be and you're like okay.
Amazing, I love that.
Sure.
Um, One thing that I wanted to cover
Mhm.
before we get into Q&A, which I forgot at the beginning, um, why? And if the answer is because I wanted to, that's also fun. But why High Elf for this build?
Ooh. Oh, um you know what? I don't play elves a lot. When I was a when we so Laura was in our first character gen, and before she had to drop out and Marisha took her place, we were planning on being wizards that knew each other, and we were like kind of
Hmm.
planning this like joint background. And when you like, I don't know if it's just my like bias against elves over the years. I'm like, when you think of hubris and that sort of like
Yeah,
inherent class distinction, elves pop to mind right away. And then you sort of stack on the idea that like the the promise of like this is an age of arcanum. So now we're kind of thinking about like how does time affect all of this too? And there's something so interesting
mm,
about like elves and their long livedness and how like the establishment of a dynasty means something very different to characters that live for centuries and what focus and dedication feels like to a character that doesn't sleep, that goes into a trance. So building a character and realizing that I wanted her to be sort of obsessively chasing a singular goal, an elf felt very good because it then becomes super understandable to focus everything you have on a project for a decade because to an elf that's like a month long crunch at the end of like a big push, and having
yeah,
that stand in contrast with like humans who are like, oh my gosh, like you haven't been a meaningful part of the world or like life for 10 years, but like what's 10 years to an elf versus a human? What is a goal? What is a legacy? And when we're talking about big, huge, powerful, arrogant swings and being remembered, I think there's just something so interesting about playing with time and perspective. So High Elf
I love that.
was to me just the pinnacle of snooty elf that has a weird sense of time behind it. But I think she was originally built before I started thinking about all that. Like I usually default to like variant human because again, I love feats.
It's a good build. Yeah,
And then
yeah,
kind
yeah,
of
yeah,
go
yeah,
from there. Yeah.
yeah. Listening to all that, this is why my friend, this is why people want you involved in these games and these stories because that was just wonderful to sit and listen to. B, I also
Oh,
love that you just gave
thanks.
us poetry and then ended it with, and they're snooty.
And she's a real butthole.
and
Hey, let me be very clear. Hey,
she's
everyone
a,
that's been yelling about that. No one understands how much of a jerk Laerryn is more than me. I understand. She's built that way. She's a butthole.
this was
She's
on purpose.
kind of
Yeah,
bad. She's bad on
yeah, she
purpose.
is. Yeah, she is
On purpose.
mechanically. a hole in a butt. I
Yeah.
love that. So I, as we sort of end this portion, hey, thank you for going through this with me. This is
Oh my
awesome,
god,
and
this is great.
I always learn watching you play, whether it was this or whether it's Battle
Oh.
for Beyond, which you can watch now on YouTube.
Yeah, go
I
watch.
just
Oh, that was the other thing I didn't say. I ended up rolling a lot of physical dice, but I only play with Cestia's dice on D&D Beyond because I love
dang
her
right,
and I think about her all the time.
absolutely.
And they're good, and they
I love
mostly
her so
roll
much.
good.
She's so
And now
cozy.
my hair matches those dice, and it's very cool. And I think about that a lot. Anyway,
Well, we need some calamity
continue.
dice too. I'll see if I'll figure out who
Ooh,
I need to talk to make that happen.
they just die at
You
the end of the
can.
game.
I will say this, even if and I'm talking to the world now, even if you haven't watched CR, like a lick of it, I think Calamity is a great. Just okay. It's just such a great self-contained. I mentioned Krypton earlier, but in the same way that even if you don't know a lick about Superman, you could probably watch a story about like the last days of Krypton and like really get the gist and really get invested and really watch this tale of like pride and hubris and the downfall of the world. It's got all of those well, this is going to be sads that you want in like a disaster movie. And
Yeah.
the run's complete. Go to Critical Role's YouTube channel, check it out. Again, even if I really think, even if like for whatever reason you've always been like, I'm not going to jump in, I think you'll like this one. I really think people will dig it. So make sure you check it out. Yeah, and I'm going to
Yeah.
do a fake ending right now if you're watching this on YouTube, because we're going to continue on a different part of our Twitch that we did in the past. Thanks for watching, and
Ooh.
we'll see you next time on D&D Beyond.
Bye.